Start recording. There we go. Great. So welcome everyone to the UK Education Champions launch session today. We are really excited to be here and to be inviting you and to be involved and working with the British Council on this particular programme. I'm going to be going through a couple of slides and just we'll start with some introductions in a second. And we've also got some other guest speakers coming to you as well, so I'll introduce them in due course. So just to start the ball rolling, my name is Sarah Sanford. I am one of the consultants who work at Edified. As I said a little bit earlier when people were starting to join, I've seen a lot of familiar names and faces joining today, which is lovely because I spent over 10 years of my career working with agencies and school counsellors and international schools and universities in Latin America for an institution here in the UK. So it feels like I'm back home almost in a way, getting to work with fellow colleagues in Latin America again. I'm also joined by my colleague Jeremy Histon, who's also based in the UK. Jeremy, I don't know if you wanted to say a quick hello or wave.
Yeah, hello everyone. Yes, I'm Jeremy, based in London in the UK, helping Sarah on this project. So you'll hear a lot more from me on the future sessions, I'm sure. But for today, it's all Sarah leading us through the slides.
Great. Thanks, Jeremy. And then we've got colleagues from the British Council here as well. So it's a project which the British Council are running, and they've asked Edified to work with them on this. So I'm going to introduce and hand it over to Lizde Espinosa, who's in Mexico to start with.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, everyone. Welcome, everyone. So my name is Lizde Espinosa. I am the head of the Education Insights Hub, and I'm very excited to see you all here for the launch of this program. We have meticulously tailored this program for your interest, especially focusing on the topics that matter most to you in your roles of educational counselors. We recognize the role that you play in promoting the UK education, especially in Latin America, and as a region, especially that has a lot of potential in student recruitment. We really want to thank you for taking the time for being here, and thank you, Sarah, and the team of Edified for helping us come or build this dream for agents and counselors. Thank you.
Thanks, Lizde. And we're also joined by Patricia Santos, who's based in Brazil. Pat, I don't know if you wanted to say a quick hello while you're there.
Yes, sure. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this launch session. I'm working with the Americas team at the British Council with this program for agents and counselors, and we look forward to seeing you in the next sessions.
Great, thanks, Pat. And also part of the team from the British Council is Angie Herrera, who's in Colombia, but she's not joining us today, unfortunately. But yeah, so just a bit of background to kind of what we're doing, why we're doing this. The British Council have identified, as Lizde said, that how important education agents and school counsellors are in terms of marketing the UK education system and really supporting international students on their journey to the UK. Students and agents and counsellors who are well trained are really essential to make sure we give us that world-class kind of excellent service to the students as well. So the British Council have asked Edified to help develop this mentoring programme to really highlight and develop the key knowledge areas about the UK as a study destination as well. And so that's where it started. So we started working together back in February this year. We conducted some surveys, which we've all been involved with. And thank you very much to everyone who participated in that as well. We really appreciate your guidance and your insights. And so we've been creating this program, which will last over the next kind of 10, 11 months or so. The project is also really closely linked with the British Council Agent and Counsellor Training Hub, which hopefully you are all more than familiar with already. But just as a kind of a quick overview, the hub was produced in collaboration with sector experts. It's accessible, it provides information to help international students have that exceptional experience. It's divided into short kind of topic-based modules and assessments. It's open to agents, it's open to school counsellors, and anyone kind of working, advising students. It's also free, which is a big thing to think about as well. Once certified, you can be listed on the public-facing database of certified agents and counsellors. And this database is there to kind of help students, their parents, education providers, and then you can actually be checked on there. So students can see if you've completed the training or if you haven't. It gives you access to different news and developments from the UK. There's a global calendar of events, so you can see what's going on in your region, but also virtually. And it has announcements available as well. So for any kind of key announcements, you get to kind of get kept up to date with the latest policy information. But anyway, that's enough of kind of me talking to you for that. But I'd just like to introduce you to a couple other people who I think will be beneficial for you to hear from related to this. So first of all, I've got my lovely colleague, Jackie Jenkins, on this call, who's the Global Programme Lead for International Student Mobility at the British Council. And then Jasmine Bual as well, who's the Regional Manager from Durham University and on the BWILA Exec Committee. And if you're not familiar with BWILA, it is the British Universities International Liaison Association. So I'm going to start with Jackie, if that's okay. I'm going to let you take over for a few minutes, if that's okay, Jackie. And I was just wondering whether you could give a quick kind of global perspective on the hub, like how it came about, the importance, why are we doing this now related to it? And yeah, just a bit more information, if that's okay. This is when Jackie realized she can't unmute herself on Zoom.
And it isn't. Oh, just like, can I just get my screen? What I'd like to do a little presentation though, if that's okay, Sarah. I think it's really important to talk a little bit about the British Council in this space and therefore trying to provide a bit of context around why we're doing this, given our history. So am I okay to share a screen?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let me stop and I'll let you do it as well.
She said. Am I able to share the screen? Share screen. This one. I hope it's this one. Can you see my screen?
It's coming. Yep, there you go.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so the British Council is actually 90 years old now. This year we'll be celebrating our 90th year anniversary. I think we're having some kind of celebration in November. And we were really called the British Committee for Relations with Foreign Countries in the early days. It wasn't until 1942 that we were given the mandate to promote Britain. And in the 60s and 70s, our main way of working was to administer scholarships. However, in the 80s, we in many ways were counsellors ourselves. So in our libraries and offices overseas, we were counselling students. It wasn't until the 90s, 1999 in fact, that we stopped counselling students ourselves and started to train the trainer or train the counsellor and train the agent. So I've just put that into context. Between 1999 and 2011, that was indeed free, but unfortunately, due to funding, we started to charge. So I'm really aware, especially in Latin America, we must be a really peculiar organisation where 1 minute we're doing something, the next minute we're not doing it, then we're doing it again, and the next minute we're not doing it. And that's partly just the way we're funded. So with that in mind, it's worth stating that between 2011 and 2019, we really were not operating in this space. And that is not just the same in Latin America, it's the same across the rest of the world. But since 2022, we've refocused on the importance that agents and counsellors play in both improving the pre-enrolment experience for the student and providing a better service for the UK universities that are wanting to engage students overseas. So that's the space that we want to occupy, and agents and counsellors both do that in many ways, so through a different kind of model. Today, we are indeed expecting the UK government to endorse the agent quality framework, and maybe we can talk a bit about that later. but that announcement is not yet been made. And so I'm just waiting and sitting literally tenterhooks at the moment to find out actually whether this will no longer be a voluntary model, but will be potentially something that the UK government endorse and would therefore expect it. So that would change the nature of the way in which we work with agents and counsellors and become, rather than a kind of nice to have, it becomes something that if you want to work with UK providers, then this really would be expected. Just to state that we looked at working with a range of different organisations that support the student in their pre-enrolment to undergraduate or indeed postgraduate education in the UK. Our measurement in many ways is to look at the student experience, and that student to have a good experience of studying in the UK, and that experience to start before they enrol in the UK education. If a student has a good experience before they enrol in the UK education and then hit the ground running, as it were, or are really prepared while they get here, then they're much more likely to become ambassadors of the UK. And that's partly the reason why the British Council is involved in this. I'm going to talk a little bit about agents here, because I know that agents are a really kind of, there's quite a lot of tension sometimes between the agents in the commercial capacity and counsellors that might be working for schools. And so I've drawn this slide in many ways to set the context that agents do work across the system, and we can see how they work with different types of organisations, and sometimes they might even be working with the schools. And so, or the colleges, and we see that in the kind of line 5, as it were, you'll see the crosses against every line. And we also know that the role of agents is, or the use of agents is increasing tremendously. This was a study done a couple of years ago now, and certain data sets would suggest it's already at 60% or 70% in some of the nations these days. So we know that the role of agents in international student mobility is increasing. That's predominantly in the postgraduate area, and I realise that. But we also know that most agents have been selected through word of mouth, and therefore that leads to kind of risks for the UK. So what we're doing here now is trying to professionalise the whole sector, so we can therefore have a framework of actually who does represent good practice and who might have the right knowledge, as opposed to students relying on simply just recommendations from their friends or family. I'm going to talk a little bit about the so-called agent quality framework here, just to say this isn't just about supporting agents, it's also about supporting providers, universities that actually work with international students, and it's also about empowering international students to really understand what an international education means and who can support them on that journey. So today we'll be talking very much around how we can support agents and counsellors, but we'll be doing similar workshops like this with the UK providers, with the UK universities, and again with the students themselves. And within that context, it's probably worth noting, and this again goes back to agents rather than counsellors, that we will imminently start to communicate with students about how to better select an education agent, ways in which they might find an agent that we feel has got the right knowledge and understanding to advise students around studying in the UK. I think I might be coming to my end of my 5 minutes, and so I think I'm going to hand over to Sarah again. And stop
Thank you very much, Jackie. That was great. Really nice overview to kind of get everyone thinking about what the British Council have been doing and what you're doing now and how things have changed, obviously. Great. I'm going to bring up my screen again now. Bear with me 1 second. Perfect. And I'm actually now going to hand over to Jasmine to talk a little bit more about your role, Jasmine, at Bwila. And obviously, I know you work very closely with the British Council as well, and on the agent quality framework. I know you've got a couple of slides which are embedded into this, so just let me know when you want me to flick through each of your slides.
I also had the mute issue there. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me here today. So I wear two hats. My full-time job is in the recruitment team at Durham. Sadly, Americas isn't in my region, so you won't have seen me out and about. But great to see you all here today. I'm also a member of the Wheeler Association, and as it's been mentioned twice now by Sarah and also Jackie, it's an association of UK universities. We come together to share best practice. We do lobbying exercises with the government, and we work on a series of different projects. The largest project we've been occupied with for the last 2 years has been the UK Agent Quality Framework, which Jackie's just mentioned. And I'm just going to talk to you for a couple of minutes, not seconds. I've got a few slides, so I won't bore you too much, hopefully. But the framework is a self-regulated framework at the moment that is being devised by the sector bodies at the bottom there. So Wheeler, UK's British Council, UKI. It looks like, and Jackie alluded to this, it may get government endorsement very, very soon, within the next couple of weeks. It will no longer be self-regulated. But for now, it's being driven by the sector. And this was devised because we've always known agents do a great job. The vast majority of our research, Edify did a lot of research for us, showed us that agents across the world are doing a really, really good job. However, some of the service is varies across different regions, and the same on the provider side. Universities have always operated with agents differently, and it's important that we're consistent so that students are getting the best possible guidance. So the AQF was devised for agents to have the best training and perform in the best way, as well as universities, and for students to be able to support themselves too. Next slide, please. So the AQF is formed of 5 pillars. So this framework is devised of these 5 different sections. And one of those key elements is the Agent Training and Engagement Hub, which you'll obviously hear about today. But there's a series of different things throughout the framework. There's a code of ethical practice and a good practice guide for agents. Hopefully you may have seen them. If not, I think you're going to be circulated all those resources. They're all on the hub. But there's some really good guidance in there. And again, it's not to patronise you. We know that you do a great job. Many of you have been operating for agents for years and years and years and plenty of experience. But there's some really good guidance in terms of how to engage with new university partners, how to bring on new business. So some of that is hopefully really helpful. And there's also an element for the provider. So as universities, there's things that we can always do to improve. The framework's not all about us telling agents what they should be doing. Universities have always had varying levels of experience, and we can do a better job too. So a huge part of that is for the universities. And then the student guide that Jackie just showed you is very important. So a lot of students were saying, I don't know how to complain if I've had a bad experience. Again, that's very few and far between. But it does happen, and we put this guide in place so that students have a voice. And then the Agent Training Hub, which we're of course here to talk about today. And that is hopefully my next slide will address that. Yeah, so the Communication Hub is a source, as it's already been mentioned, it's an online training program, a few modules, hopefully not too time intensive. As I mentioned, lots of you will already have vast experience, and there will be elements within the training hub that you will already know, but it's constantly kept up to date. It's really important to, still sign up so that you're in the know, you know what's going on. And as it's been mentioned by Sarah, it's free as well. In the past, it used to have costs associated, but that's no longer the case. The training is transferable. If you leave an agency and you move on, you will still be listed on the database. So you don't have to do the training every time you go to a new agent if you're to move on. And there's announcements there that we can also update too. So it's a really useful hub to be a part of, and it's really important to get that training done. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as part of this AQF, universities have come together to sign a pledge. We have only 3 outstanding UK members that haven't signed this pledge. So you can assume that the majority of people that you're working with in universities have signed the pledge. As part of this pledge, there's a series of different clauses. And one of those clauses is to make sure that in our agent contract, it says that every agent we work with has done the agent training hub. So it's no longer becoming something that was voluntary. It's very likely that the university you're working with, you'll start to see that in updated contracts. As you know, you might have a 3-year contract, a 5-year contract. So we're not pushing them out as an immediate change, but as you start to see those renewed contracts, you probably will see a clause that says, as part of an agent for Durham, for example, you must have done this training, and universities will now be checking the database periodically to make sure those agents are on there. So it's no longer, as I said, just a nice to have thing. A lot of the universities will be coming back to check that that's on their hub as well. So it's really important. And again, as I said, if you're looking to take on new partners, one of the first things we'll do now as part of the Durham process of signing a new agent is checking that you're on that database. So it's almost a must in a way to have this training. So super important from a university perspective. Last slide, I think I'm nearly there. Thank you. So why is it important? So stressing the importance again, this framework is so important, not only for agents, but also for universities. We're under constant scrutiny at the moment in the UK to check that everything is up to scratch. We know that you're all doing a great job, but it's important that we're showing that we're regulating agents as well, so that we continue to work with you in the best possible way. So it's super important, and it's important that we as a university abide by the pledge that we've signed. And as part of that, there are clauses that we need to make sure our agents are doing. And one of the first things you'll see is their agent hub. So super important if you want to work with a UK university, and that training is key now. At the moment, the framework's really rigorous. It's not overly regulated. Again, it looks like that will change, but it's better to get ahead of that. It's not too time consuming in terms of the training, as far as I'm aware. I haven't done it, so I'm talking from a kind of outside perspective, and it's now free. So please do make sure you're signed up, and please do get this done as soon as you can. And we're doing this all to ensure quality. And as I said, it's not just that making sure that our agents are quality, it's also shining a light on us as an institution, making sure that we are abiding by all of these things as laid out in the AQF. But that's me done, but I'll be around if there's any questions from the university's perspective or from the Bwila perspective. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jasmine. That's been really, really helpful. I know you said you're happy to stay on and answer any questions, so you're welcome to stay. Likewise, Jackie, you're welcome to stay on for a little bit. You are also welcome to drop off if you want, and I can obviously feed back any other questions to either of you at a later time if that's easier. Entirely up to you. But yeah, thanks. I really, really appreciate all that as well. So I guess now we probably think a little more about this program, what we're going to be doing. So as I said earlier, thank you so much to everyone who participated in the survey about 6 weeks ago or so. I think we sent, or a month ago, we sent it out. We had some really, really interesting responses in terms of your levels of engagement so far with the UK in general, with the British Council, your knowledge, your kind of interests in learning about different areas within the UK education system. So yeah, we really appreciate all of your feedback on that. And so how this program is going to run is basically over the next 10, 11 months or so. We were going to ask you, or we're going to require you really, to complete all of the training modules on the UK Agent and Counsellor Training Hub. The whole thing in its current format should take about 4 hours to cover, and then plus some assessments as well. So it's not a huge amount, given that we're giving you 11 months to complete it all. If you've already done it or already started it, then we just ask you to refresh at different points and just going to make sure there's nothing you've missed. But yeah, about 4 hours worth of content in total at the moment. During the same time frame, so Edified, so myself, my colleague Jeremy, and other colleagues of ours as well, are going to be running 6 different mentoring sessions. And with these, we're going to have some subject matter experts and UK university representatives as well. And they're going to be talking through specific areas related to the content in the hub as well. So we're going to get kind of a deeper dive into different areas and different content. Each of the sessions will consist of short presentations, a panel session, and then a Q&A as well. It's going to be quite interactive. That's the whole point of it. We want you to participate. We want you to talk to the subject matter experts. We want you to ask them questions. We want you to really kind of dig deep and drill into what they're doing and what they're responsible for, so you can kind of get more out of this as well. Upon completion of the program, upon completion of the training on the hub, you will become a UK certified agent or counsellor. And as I said, you can have your details registered on the website, which is where, as Jasmine said, universities are looking more and more at checking about whether you've been certified or not before working with you. And if you attend all 6 of the mentoring sessions as well, you'll receive recognition as a UK Education Champion as part of this British Council project. And the British Council are also designing a digital toolkit, which you'll get if you complete all 6 sessions, which will hopefully help support you in your role counselling students. Before every session, we're asking you to complete a certain unit from the training from the hub. So just to give you a little more of an idea of what that then looks like. So the first session is going to be in July. So it's about 6 weeks or so away. And before that, we want you to complete the first unit. So nice and straightforward. It should take you about 15 minutes to go through that first unit. And then in the mentoring session, we're going to be talking about why students choose the UK as an education destination, the benefits of the UK, and then how it compares to other study destinations as well. And again, I appreciate that a lot of you have been doing this for a long time, but I think it's still going to be really beneficial because you're going to have different perspectives, you're going to have different representatives, different experts talking to you. So hopefully you'll still actually find this quite beneficial, even if you feel like you know what some of the key benefits of the UK are. Then near the end of August, we're going to do the second session. So we'll ask you to complete the second unit on the UK education system. This should take you about an hour. It's about an hour worth of content. And we'll go into a little more details about kind of the differences of, again, undergrad and postgraduate study, PhD studies as well, so not just masters. Foundation and pathway providers we might be involved as well. We're hoping to invite 1 or 2 pathway providers to talk to you a little bit more about what they look like and the importance of foundation programs in the UK education system. And then there's the third sessions in October, and this is going to be 2 different units. So the first one is preparing students for UK education, which is, again, relatively short, about 15 minutes or so at the moment. And then a new unit, which will be coming soon. I'm not sure when, but I've got on to good authority it's coming soon, about student accommodation as well. So we'll look at choosing courses, subject-specific requirements, the student accommodation landscape, so the private accommodation versus on-campus accommodation. And there's a section as well there about customer service excellence and the kind of ethics behind counselling students that we're going to be touching on. Then the following 3, so in November, we're looking at student experience and student employability. Again, this should take about an hour worth of your time beforehand. We'll touch on the career service, graduate visa routes, graduate jobs markets. So we had some good news over here in the UK last week with the MAC review, if you've heard about that at all, where the government is hopefully now no longer looking at changing any regulations towards the post-study work visa. But we're doing this in November, so you never know with our UK government what's going to happen. We will find out more then, I guess. But that will be the session in November. And then January, we'll have a session on values and ethics. This will be talking a little more about that National Code of Ethical Practice and the Good Practice Guide, which Jasmine mentioned, which Wheeler obviously been really involved in. And another new unit, which will be coming soon, on the UK payment landscape, and particularly looking at payment options for when it comes to actually paying tuition fees and kind of transferring funds, looking at fraud, looking at bribery, all the different challenges that students are facing when it comes to making payments. That one again should probably take about an hour in total. And then the final one will be in April next year. So it's quite a long way away, but I'm hoping you'll still be with me at that point. And we're going to look at the visas immigration side of things, the entry requirements, immigration regulations, student visas. We'll get an update from UKVI hopefully in that session as well. And a little bit about working with the British Council and what they might be able to do with you more as well in your region. So that's kind of how it's looking. That's what our program looks like at the moment. As I said, we haven't got the full list of who's going to be involved in each of the different sessions yet, but that will be coming soon. So I know that many of you will have actually already registered for the mentoring program, because I've been seeing emails via Eventbrite saying that you've registered, which is great. The British Council will also invite you to register for that again, if you haven't already. Each of the sessions will take place via Zoom, like this one. We will remind you in advance of the content that you need to complete in advance. So this is on the website, on the Eventbrite page. It's on the British Council page as well. But we will remind you every time about what you need to do or not cover and not cover in advance. It is going to be interactive, so we are going to have a limit on the number of participants in each session. So I would recommend that you register sooner rather than later. If you register for this and you attend this particular launch session, then you get that priority access to the mentoring sessions as well. But if we start getting too many, then we may need to cap the numbers eventually, because we are going to hopefully try and make it as interactive as possible, rather than me or anyone else just talking at you for an hour. But then, as I said, upon completion, you'll get an exclusive British Council toolkit as well to support you in your role, which will hopefully be very beneficial to you going forward as well. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Throughout the next 11 months or so, you're welcome to reach out to me or any other colleagues from Edified about the program. You've got my email address there, and I think it's on various different places as well in the email notifications that have gone out. And I'm more than happy to help with any questions or any concerns or any queries you have. And I know, Liz, you wanted to say a few words as well, I think, in terms of the kind of next steps.
Yes, Sarah. Well, I think I want to thank you, all the people that have registered and have attended this session. We hope that you have found the session informative and inspiring. And we also want to share with you that your feedback is invaluable to us. So please take a moment to fill out the feedback form that we will be sharing in the chat. Your insights in this feedback form will also help us to improve future sessions and to better tailor our support to your needs. Thank you again for coming, for your active participation in the future webinars. We look forward to seeing you at the following mentoring sessions. We're very excited to be launching this program today, and we really, really hope that your participation ensures that we can collectively elevate the quality of guidance provided to students aspiring to study in the UK. And I want you also to know that by engaging in this program, you're not only enhancing your own professional development, but also contributing to the growth and success of the international education sector in Latin America. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Liz. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now, and I'm gonna stop the recording as well. But I just want to say, if anyone does have any questions, you're welcome to either ask them in the chat, or you're welcome to just unmute yourself. It's entirely up to you. How you'd like to do it.
I can read some of the questions, Sarah, to you if you want, if that makes it easier.
Sorry, Liz, I missed that.
If you want, I could read some of the questions that have been in the chat, if that makes it easier for you and Jeremy.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you very much. That would be great.
Yeah, so we have one from Maria. How can we enroll to the mentoring program after this session?
Okay, so the British Council will be sending out the link to how to enroll. So that should be coming to you very shortly. So yeah, it will be in your inbox soon if you want to register for it.
Thank you. From Estefania, this is probably just a comment. So it says, please, during our 11-month training, can you add English subtitles or captions?
Oh, that's a good question. I wonder if I can do that. I can definitely try.
I think you could put it at the bottom, but I'm not really sure. It's at the bottom where it says more on Zoom. It says captions, and you should be able to actually put it automatically on English. It's available on my Zoom, so I'm not really sure if it's available for everybody, but the option is there.
Yeah, I've just opened it up on mine as well. It's just the same. Hopefully
Okay.
you have to get to work, Estefania.
Thank you. So this is from an independent educational consultant in Brazil. Is this program also for counselors? I'm a school counselor, not an agent for universities. Probably if you want to add a little bit, what I just want to mention to the people that are registered here is the idea that everybody that is in charge of advising students that are going to the UK should be certified. So this is the training that we're aiming to do. So anybody that is in any role, be it school counselor, independent agent, independent counselor, you should be training with this certification. Sarah, I don't know if you have anything else.
Yeah, exactly that. So it's not just for kind of agents, it is also for school counselors as well. We really would love to have school counselors joining this session as well. So anyone from schools who advise students are more than welcome to come. Leo, I just saw your comment as well pop up as well. So yes, please encourage your colleagues, your staff within schools to also come along and get involved. Anyone who's involved in speaking to students about possibly the UK, it'll be a great opportunity for them to learn more as well.
Thank you. Sarah from Pili, is there a limit in the number of people that can register per agency?
Nope, not at all. No restrictions there. So again, it'd be great to have as many of your team involved.
Thank you. And I think that's pretty much all we have in the chat. I don't know if there is anybody else who would like to either unmute and ask a question.
Just say hello to Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hi,
so
Leo.
Good to see you again. Small
Likewise.
world. We'll beat the drum with the Mexican international schools. Make sure we get as many folks in as possible. Great to see you leading this project.
Thanks,
and good
Leo.
luck to everyone. All right.
Nice to see you again.
Cheers.
I just noticed that Patricia's also actually added into the chat the link to how to register as well.
Thank you. And yeah, just Leo, just to further that comment, so anybody that is in school counselors, especially if you're in middle schools, secondary schools, even if you're in high schools, the idea is to get everybody certified. So also for the training that is actually in the hub, there is no limit in the number of people that can do it for the agency. That's why we kept it free. So the idea is that if you have a big agency with a lot of people working on it, that you are able to certify as many people as you can instead of paying per certification. That's why we kept it free. So that's the idea. There is no limit. And also there is no limit in the time that you can complete the certification in the hub. So that's something else that you need to know.
Sarah, I'm logging into in the hub right now, and you were presenting some units, right? Like we must have like unit 1 ready, but I don't see those topics in the hub. So
the unit should be there. So that should be when you go into the training section, it should be able to choose which unit you're on.
Okay.
Sarah, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
When I entered the hub some days ago, there is an assessment. There are some assessment questions after each unit. What happens if you don't pass those? I mean, if you don't answer correctly any of those questions, could you retake the assessment?
Yeah, I think Lizday probably is more knowledgeable of this than from my side.
I can take that. I can that up to you, and I can also share. Pat, I don't know if you could log into the hub so that we can quickly share the where the units are. Yes, there is a test. So there is something when you're actually in the training hub, the one for the British Council, you will have two options. You have a fast track option, which we if you consider yourself that you're a really, really experienced agent with UK education, then you can go directly onto the tests or the assessments. We don't really suggest that because in each of the units, there are actually a lot of links and documents that you could actually download and use for your own when you're actually advising students. But if you, once you have completed each of the units, when you go to the assessment, you have a certain number of questions. So each assessment is different. If you don't pass them, when you start the assessment, it will tell you how many questions you will have to answer correctly. So for example, you need to answer 10 out of 12, 9 out of 10, etc., etc. So it will tell you there what's the passing grade. If you don't pass them all, you can retake it. So that doesn't mean that you have failed it. So you can retake it as many times as you can. Every time that you take the assessment, the questions will change. So that is the difficulty of the assessment. So you will not have the same questions, because otherwise it will be very easy, but the questions might change, but you can retake it as many times as you can. So it doesn't mean that you failed and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Gerardo, have you managed to find the units yet?
No.
Okay.
Sarah, I'm
Pat.
logging in. I can show you in a bit. Just a
Perfect.
second.
Thank you. In the meantime, anyone else, any other questions at all? Lots of silence. That's always hopefully reassuring that everyone's understood and everyone's happy, and hopefully everyone's really keen to be involved.
Sarah from Susie, will you be sending out this schedule?
So the schedule is on the British Council website in terms of the dates, the timings, the content that has to be done in advance. It's also on the Eventbrite page to register, so which Patricia sent around, and it will also go in the emails. So yes, you will find it available in many places, so you know what it is you need to do, by when, the timings, everything. Yes.
Sarah, I can.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead, Pat.
I can quickly share the screen to show where the units are.
Perfect. Thank you.
So when you log into the hub, you see the homepage, of course, and then you find on the menu My Learning, Training and Resources. And then you can find here the training itself, the first options, the third option, actually. You'll find the training and then click Next. And then you see the units available here. You can select the one you prefer. You don't need to follow a particular order. You can go to the first, or you can even skip sessions and go directly to the assessments. So this is where you find the sessions. Okay.
Does
Stop
that
sharing.
And something else, if I could add, Sarah, that is important when you register, for those that aren't registered, it's also important that at the beginning they will ask you for 4 steps. So they will ask you for your name, they will ask you for your role. So it's important that you clarify. We understand counselor as anybody that is attached to an educational institution, so be it a school or be it a university. If you're independent, choose agent. We have also had some cases of agents in Latin America in which they say my agency is not on the system. There is an option when you register to add your agency name. So when you actually type it at the bottom, it says add, and then you can add your agency name, and then you can start adding all the people that will be taking the training. Also, as Pat mentioned, it's important to mention that the training can be taken at in any order. So there is actually no obligation to take it in the way that it's laid out on the website. Your progress is saved. So even if you start with Unit 1 and there are certain sections in Unit 1, let's say there are 4 sections in Unit 1, and you want to start with Section 3 of Unit 1, you're free to do so. Your progress is saved, and every time that you log in, you can restart with a unit or you can start with a new one. So I don't know if that makes it clearer. Thank you.
Can I ask, may I ask another question? Sorry.
Of course.
Regarding the questions and the assessment, I mean, or our agencies listed at the British Council, where could we see whether we are listed or not? I mean.
Thank you, Maria. That's a good question. When you log in, you actually have to take a consent form that basically allows your agency to be public or private in the database of agents. Once you have become certified, fully certified, then your database or your data goes into the global database of agencies. So anybody that will be looking at agencies, what Willa was mentioning at the beginning, so to make sure that you are certified with this training, that will be looking at the database. This will be very much a personal decision. So if you would like to share those details, if you would like to make your details public. Now, when we say public, it's a database that is only available for us in the British Council and for partners like universities in the UK, WILA, etc., etc. So it's a public database. You can also see other agents that are registered across Latin America, because we also try to make this networking with agencies across Latin America, but it should be in a public database, Maria.
Thank you.
I've noticed another couple of questions just in the chat. So there's one about if you have to register for all 6 of the sessions or just one. And no, so we've only got one registration link for the whole program. So you register once and then we'll send you the links to all 6 of the sessions after you've registered. So you don't need to do 6 different registrations. We made it a little bit easier for you rather than doing that. So we'll send you reminders in advance of all the sessions with the link to the Zoom call and also to the content you need to do in advance. And there was one other from Debbie at Innova. Hi, Debbie, long-standing old friend of mine. So all of the Innova team have already done the training and got the certificate, which is great. But yes, this is still for you as well. So you're still welcome to come to the mentoring sessions. There'll still be extra new content that you'll get from those as well. So yeah, it'd be great to see you and the team there as well. Perfect. I think there's no more questions coming up in the chat. No one else is putting their hands up at all. So first thing I'm going to do